Good evening, everyone, and welcome, welcome, welcome. I cannot tell you how happy I am to be up here and to see all of these faces of fabulous people in front of me for this incredibly important celebration. My name is Premilla Nadasen. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a professor of history and the co-director of the Barnard Center for Research on Women, along with my fabulous co-director, Janet Jakobsen, professor of Women, Gender, and Sexuality Studies. BCRW is a center for feminist social justice research and an incubator of scholar-activist partnership, and we have the honor and privilege of hosting events such as this. I'd just like to kindly ask if you could please wear your mask during this event, and if you need one, there are some on the table outside. I first want to thank all of you for coming out to joining, and I want to thank all of you for joining us tonight for what I promise will be a memorable evening. This is a very special occasion, and this audience needs no introduction to Ntozake Shange. She was a brilliant performer, poet, playwright, and dancer who gifted us with a wealth of knowledge and culture, connecting past and present, trauma and joy, individual pain and collective hope. So we are here in the spirit of Shange and to celebrate the launch of the Ntozake Shange Social Justice Theater Residency. This is a brand new partnership between the Public Theater, Barnard College, and the Shange Trust. So tonight is a celebration of that historic partnership and of the inaugural holder of that fellowship, Erika Dickerson-Despenza. I also just want to draw everybody's attention to the altar in the back, which is Erika's creation. And so I would ask you to please stop by and pay homage if you have not already done so. In addition, there is an archival exhibit outside that was produced by our library staff, and we have books for sale, and there's also a photographer outside who can do stand and repeat photographs, so please avail yourself of those services. And also, I just want to tell you a little bit about the video loop that was playing when you walked in, and that was produced by our creative director, Hope Dector. And it reflects Shange's periodic visits over decades back to Barnard College. My main task tonight, before I turn it over to our MC, Professor Kayama Glover, is to we're never going to get through this night. Clear your calendars. My main task is to acknowledge land, labor, and community. This college sits on the land of the Lenape people. We pay respect to them as the original caretakers of these lands and water, and their continuing presence in their ancestral homeland and throughout the Lenape diaspora. As I'm sure most of you know, land acknowledgement signals an attempt to move away from the historic erasure and violent history of settler colonialism and land theft. These processes of displacement and dispossession rest not only in our past, however, but they're part of our ongoing occupation. I also want to foreground that this college and the university across the street profited from slave labor and the slave trade, from stolen bodies held in bondage, creating a system of racism that we encounter in the present and that also had an influence on Shange's work. And today, as the university expands further out, displacement and possession of Black and Latinx residents living in Harlem continues. I also want to acknowledge the labor to preserve the legacy of Shange that has been spearheaded by the family, by Don Sutton of the Ntozake Trust, by Shange's collaborators, other artists, and students. Here at Barnard, for decades, Zaki's legacy was not fully recognized by the college. But there is a group of faculty and students that have worked for decades to ensure that Shange receives her due at her alma mater. So I want to take a moment to acknowledge the work of the Africana Studies Department, and my predecessors at BCRW. So I'm just going to name them because I think it's important to name them. Kim Hall, the Lucille Hook Professor of English and Africana Studies, who taught Shange, organized exhibits and events, and created a presence for Shange at this college. Monica Miller, Ann Whitney Olin Professor of English and Africana Studies, Yvette Christianse, Claire Tao Professor of Africana Studies, and Janet Jakobsen, who was a director of BCRW. So we owe a serious debt of gratitude to these faculty who helped get us to where we are today. I also want to thank our colleagues at the library who have done so much to preserve and catalog Shange's papers and make them accessible to the public. Vani Natarajan, Miriam Neptune, and Martha Tenney, they are here today. And I also want to mention the work of Pam Cobran, Dominic Ballou, and Alex Watson. We are also deeply grateful to Elizabeth Castelli, the former director of BCRW, and Kayama Glover, who hatched this beautiful idea in the midst of the pandemic, probably over Zoom, but they turned it into a reality. And I also really want to thank President Sion Beilock and Provost Linda Bell for their support through this process. At any event like this, there's always a great deal of labor, and a lot of it is invisible labor. There are the people who help set up and clean up, the tech folks in the back who are in the shadows there. I can't name everybody, unfortunately, otherwise we will be here all night, but I just want to say thanks, first and foremost, to the BCRW staff, Miriam Neptune, Sophie Kreetzberg, Hope Dector, Pam Phillips, Avi Cummings, as well as the student volunteers and research assistants. And ASL interpretation is being provided by All Hands in Motion. And there were a number of Barnard offices that really made this day possible: the Development and Alumni Relations Office, the President's Office, IMATS and AV Services, Events Management, and Chartwell's Catering. And our current collaborators with this are the Public Theater and the Ntozake Shange Trust. I want to give a very special thanks to Don Sutton at the Trust for all your guidance in making this event possible, and to the Public Theater, Jeremy Adams, Oskar Eustis, Amrita Ramanan, and the staff of the Public Theater. It is really because of their help that we will have such a spectacular program this evening. I ask you all to please silence your phones. At the end of the program, after Erika is finished, we are going to have toasts, but those toasts will be without actual drinks in our hand. We'll have plenty of time to drink after that, but there are people who don't feel comfortable being unmasked in an indoor space. So after the toast, then people who would like to eat and drink are welcome to stay. So with that, I know you all want me to move on so you can see this wonderful program. I'm going to introduce my colleague, Kayama Glover, who is the Anne Whitney Olin Professor of French and Africana Studies and Faculty Director of the Digital Humanities Center. She has written extensively about Caribbean literature, gender, and postcoloniality in such works as A Regarded Self, Caribbean Womanhood, and the Ethics of Disorderly Being, and Haiti Unbound, a spiralist challenge to the post-colonial canon. She has earned many awards and fellowships, and is a regular contributor to the New York Times Book Review and a co-host of the podcast Writing Home, American Voices from the Caribbean. Thank you, Kayama.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. And it's happening. Erika had the generous idea of me suggesting that anyone who has an empty seat next to them raise their hand so folks in the back can sit down. Lovely, but that's happening on its own. Please, everyone, have a seat. Wonderful. Thank you. Glasses. All right. Good evening, everyone. And again, welcome to what is ultimately the house that Ntozake Shange built for us. I am humbled and truly honored to have played even a small part in bringing together the extraordinary artists, visionaries, thinkers, and doers who have made this residency a reality in the world, a gorgeous resource for the builders of tomorrow, the day after that, the year after that, and the world after that. And so I want to thank first, from the heart, all of those who have put together this program, who have put together this residency, and who have imagined a future for Ntozake Shange's legacy here at Barnard. Thank you, sincerely. It is my pleasure now to introduce one of those visionaries and doers, our 8th president of Barnard College and celebrated cognitive scientist, Sian Bailok. Since I have more, there's more. Clapping is good, though. Since beginning her tenure here at Barnard in 2017, President Bailok has worked with incredible success on multiple fronts. She has enhanced Barnard's STEM programs to parallel the college's renown in the arts and humanities. She implemented Feel Well, Do Well, a campus-wide health and wellness initiative. She launched Beyond Barnard, a one-stop shop for career resources at Barnard and beyond. And she has raised over $50 million in financial aid and related support to help increase access to Barnard for first-generation and low-income students. We are grateful for her leadership, and we are very proud to have her at the helm. Please join me in welcoming Sian Bailok.
Thank you, Kayama. It's so wonderful to be here, and I really just wanted to take a moment to celebrate this momentous occasion, the launch of the Ntozake Shange Social Justice Theater Residency. It's really fantastic. Today we're having a celebration of the creator and inaugural resident, Erika Dickerson-Despenza, and a tribute to the residency's luminous namesake, Barnard alumna, Ntozake Shange, as well as a new groundbreaking partnership between Barnard College, the Public Theater, and the Ntozake Shange Literary Trust. It's just so wonderful. Congratulations, everyone. As president, I feel like my job is to hear good ideas and help make them happen, and that's what I get excited about. I feel like it's the same as working with students who have great questions or graduate students who come up with new research ideas, and so it's truly a pleasure to be behind and helping to serve and support the people who put this all together. I want to especially thank the Barnard Center for Research on Women, the Public Theater, and the Shange Literary Trust for just working with us to make this a reality. I also wanted to say a few words about Erika, who without her this would not be possible, and who will be inspiring all of us, and I'm so excited that she's the inaugural resident. Erika's an established playwright with a stellar career who works in Shange's political and creative tradition. Erika has already produced 3 plays and is working on another. While in residence, Erika will be working with the Barnard College Department of Theater and Barnard students. She's going to offer master classes and public programs. Beyond the wonderful opportunity to support this remarkable, distinguished artist, the partnership offers just such a range of opportunities for Barnard faculty, staff, and the wider community we serve, and we're so excited. We think this is just the beginning of this. I will end by saying that the head of the Public Theater, Oskar, and I were on a bus together maybe 5 years ago in Greece, and we said, why isn't Barnard and the Public Theater doing more together? So this is such a great coming full circle on that. I really want to thank the Shange Literary Trust and everyone who's supported this. We've had several anonymous donors. I want to remind everyone that there's always more support to give, and we're happy to have it. There's information in the back of your program about it, and our goal is really to establish this and not only inspire a current generation of creators and knowledge makers, but to inspire everyone well into the future. So thank you and welcome.
Thank you, Sian, and what an incredible story of a dream realized 5 years after being initially conceived. I would like now to extend a heartfelt welcome to Oskar Eustis, who has been the artistic director of the Public Theater since 2005, having served as the artistic director at Trinity Repertory Company in Providence, Rhode Island, from 1994 to 2005. Throughout his career, Oskar Eustis has been dedicated to the development of new work that speaks to the most important issues of our time. And he's worked with countless artists in pursuit of that very aim, among whom Tony Kushner, Susan-Lori Parks, David Henry Hwang, Lin-Manuel Miranda, Richard Nelson, Rinna Groff, Terrell Alvin McCraney, and Lisa Cron, and these are just a few of the names. He's currently a professor at Newark University, and he's held professorships at UCLA, at Middlebury College, and Brown University. Welcome, Oskar.
Thank you so much. I just want to start by acknowledging three people who have been acknowledged, but I want to say something specific. Sian, it was a wonderful conversation that you and I had on the bus that afternoon, and very exciting, but it's absolutely indicative of what actually made it happen was Erika Dickerson-Despenza. We had a thought, but Erika is, yes, she's the first resident, but she's the creator of this program. And what an example of the activism that's part of the title of this residency, is part of the legacy of Ntozake, and that Erika is so beautifully fulfilling in her own work in life. Art and activism are not opposed to each other. They reinforce each other. Artistry is activism. Activism is a form of art. And I am just so, you know I'm in awe of you artistically, but I'm also just so grateful for watching you make things happen that didn't happen before, Erika. That's just extraordinary. We also have a guest in the room tonight, Emily Tao, and I want to thank Emily and the Tao Foundation. There we go. Because it was the support of the Tao Foundation that first allowed Erika and the public to develop the residency that was really the prelude to this. And what an extraordinary gift that Emily and the Tao Foundation have made, not only to us, but to the American theater as a whole. And finally, there's a public staff member who has to be recognized, Jack Moore, our Associate Director of Newark Film. Listen to that. And it's because Jack has been the tireless seeker out of talent, advocate of talent, and we would not have the relationship with Erika today if it wasn't for the really tireless brilliance and advocacy of Jack. So congratulations, brother. It's nice to see your work bearing fruit, isn't it? It's a beautiful thing. And this residency is gorgeous fruit. There's something, Ntozake, who I didn't get a chance to know until the 90s, but boy, I was lucky when I did get to know her. She was an artist, she was an activist, and she was interested in art that didn't get controlled by the marketplace. We actually have a great video of Ntozake at the time that Colored Girls was moving to Broadway, of her saying to Joe, I don't want to go to Broadway. I don't like that audience. I don't like those people. She was not lusting after commercial success, but she got it. And in the process of getting it, she changed what Broadway was. She changed who came to Broadway. She changed who got to speak from the stages on Broadway. And I'm so proud that we have our commercial partners here who brought the revival for Colored Girls last year. So thank you to Broadway again. But it's that I think really seals the bond between Barnard and the public, because that's something that is deep in the DNA of both organizations. We exist in order to support culture that will not be supported by the marketplace alone. We are here to support the idea that you can't measure the value of culture only in dollars. You can't sell the things that matter most to a people. You have to find other ways of preserving culture that the market won't preserve by itself, and creating that culture. And Barnard is dedicated to that in a broad range of intellectual and creative pursuits. Here at the public, we're dedicated in a more narrow range to theater. But it's the same thing. And you know, when I think of this residency, and I think of this position being created, part of what I think is, you know what? The universities are places that by social consensus is where philosophers are supported in the United States. Nobody thinks philosophers in general go out and, you know, make money on the market. We understand philosophy is important to us, and so we have to find a place to support philosophers that doesn't depend on the marketplace. We have to do the same with playwrights. And hopefully this is a model that will extend across the country, and universities and theaters can work together to say, we will make it possible for playwrights to live a dignified life in the theater, to get health care, to get pensions, to know that they have a paycheck so that they don't. Starving artistry is not a good thing. It's something we've been able to tolerate as a field because we're so resilient, but it's not something that we should be proud of. It's not something that we should be holding up as a model. This is. I'm so grateful that we're able to partner with Barnard, and I hope there's a wonderful future for us together as organizations and for this example elsewhere. Thank you so much.
Please join me now in welcoming Donald S. Sutton, President of Global Artist Management of New York, Incorporated, who counted Ntozake Shange among a 50-year client roster that includes performers and playwrights, Alvin Ailey, Arthur Mitchell, Ossie Davis, Ruby Dee, Savion Glover, among many others. It's going to be a second. Just so you know. Having spent 10 years managing Dr. Shange, Donald Sutton was designated on her passing the literary trustee of the Ntozake Shange Revocable Trust, a repository of Shange's voluminous bibliography, including her landmark choreo poem for color girls who have considered suicide, When the Rainbow is Enough, which was successfully revived under Sutton's supervision in 2019 at the New York Shakespeare Festival Public Theater and opened at the Booth Theater on Broadway in April of this year. And let me just note also that Donald Sutton has been instrumental in very literally building the infrastructure and the landscape of Black visual and performing arts in the United States. Having served as Capital Campaign Director of the Studio Museum in Harlem in 1980, and Chief Development Officer opening the Charles Wright Museum of African American History in Detroit from 1995 to 1997, and as Vice President of the Empire State Development Corporation from 1981 to 1990, Sutton supervised the renovation and redevelopment of Harlem's National Black Theater and briefly managed reconstruction of Harlem's Apollo Theater. We are honored to have him with us tonight. Welcome.
Thank you very much for that introduction. I'm sure that all of you will hope that when your opportunity comes to make a public address, that you don't have to follow Oskar Eustis. I have been the president of Global Artist Management for about 30 years now, and one of my longest-standing clients, of course, was Ntozake Shange. Ntozake established the Ntozake Shange Irrevocable Trust in 2017 to promote and curate presentation of the literary legacy of her work. She is recognized as one of the nation's most prolific and influential celebrated poets, playwright, and essayists of the last 50 years. Ntozake's legacy comprises more than 36 published works, including 13 plays, 7 novels, 6 children's books, 19 poetry collections, and a trove about 4 feet tall of essays, commentary, and letters to the editors of several major daily newspapers. As many of you are aware, and some of you are realizing this evening, girlfriend was busy. Since we lost Ntozake in 2018, the Trust has reissued one of her most important works, or her major theatrical work for colored girls who have considered suicide when the rainbow is enough, and completed publication of 2 unfinished works, Dance We Do from Beacon Press, and also a chapbook poem entitled I Am an Old Woman from Grizzly Peak Press in Oakland, California. For colored girls, as has been mentioned, who have considered suicide when the rainbow is enough, was revived at the Booth Theater by several of our guests tonight. We're grateful to have with us the commercial producers of the show, Ken Teton and Nell Nugent. Thank you for joining us, Ken and Nell. This, of course, followed the presentation of For Colored Girls, revived at the Public Theater in 2019, where it ran sold out for 9 weeks and garnered 2 Lucille Lortel Awards, the 2020 Drama Desk Award, the 2020 Drama League Award, 5 Antonio Awards, 3 Audelco Viv Awards, and the 2 Lucille Lortel Awards, I think I mentioned that, for achievements in theater off-Broadway. 2020 also saw completion and establishment of the Ntozake Shange Archives at Barnard College, within the Barnard Library and Special Collections Division, where it has already become a significant resource for publishing materials and academic research into American literature and theater. Projects in development at the Trust include the first ever adaptation of For Colored Girls as an opera, and an innovative multimedia performance installation that will be based upon Ntozake's novel, Lillian. We are delighted to offer all of you this evening an advance registration for copies of a new compendium of unpublished Shange works drawn upon the Barnard College Shange collection that will be titled Sing a Black Girl's Song, curated by Imani Perry of Princeton University. And I'm delighted to announce this evening for the first time that the foreword for that volume will be written by Tarana Burke. In closing, I'd like to recall a dearly held aspiration of Ntozake's, expressed in her foreword to the first publication of For Colored Girls in 1974, and I quote, "I write for the young girls of color coming along in the future so that when they arrive, there will be something there for them," unquote. The Ntozake Shange Civil Justice Theater Residency realizes that dream of Ntozake's and ensures that when young people of color, cis, non-binary, trans, arrive in the coming years, there will be something here for them. Thank you.
Please join me now in welcoming Paul T. Williams, Jr., family. Paul T. Williams, Jr. is Ntozake Shange's brother and managing trustee of the Shange Trust. A partner in the law firm of Brown, Hatchett & Williams and co-founder of Williams Strategy Advisors, Mr. Williams served as president and chief executive officer of the Dormitory Authority of the State of New York for 2 governors. He also served as chair of the MWBE task force, where he helped overhaul New York's procurement policies, which led to a significant expansion of opportunities for minorities and women-owned businesses. We are so happy to have you with us here tonight, Paul T. Williams. Welcome.
Thank you, Professor Glover, and thank you to all in attendance here today. I do want to single out President Bylock, Director Eustis. Oskar, thank you for those comments. You really filled in some blanks for me in terms of the origin of this wonderful new institution we're building here. And co-director Nadasen. I bring greetings to you all on behalf of my entire family. And it's a big one, but especially on behalf of my two sisters, Ifa Baeza, who actually has her 3 plays opening in D.C. this past week. And it's funny, they're centered around the Till, that's called the Till Trilogy, and it just gives you another indication of some of the thread that runs through our family in terms of perspective. I also want to mention my wife, Amy Fielder Williams, who's actually a co-trustee with me, and Ntozake's daughter, Savannah Shange, and her granddaughter, Harriet. So we all bring you greetings. And I want to thank, in particular, the Public Theater and Barnard for the honor you bestow upon my sister by naming this prestigious social justice theater residency in her name, and to congratulate in so many ways and recognize and honor the inaugural resident playwright, Erika Dickerson-Despenza. Thank you. I don't think any of us could thank you enough, Erika, for inspiring and implementing this residency program with the help of all that everyone put into it. But as I indicated earlier, it's a new institution in this great city of New York. It's not something that I really admit readily, but in this comfortable room, I'm going to tell you, Zaki and I shared a common sense of privilege in our family. She was the oldest daughter, and I was the only son. She was the firstborn, and I was the only son, I meant to say. She was 4 years my senior, but we were kindred souls, in large part because of that, the two of us. For one thing, Zaki and I seemingly had full access and full attention from our parents whenever we wanted it because of our special location in the family. The world she shared with our mother and father, known among friends and family as Eloise and PT, shaped her destiny perhaps more than anything else. A love of language, people, poetry, and literature with our mother, a passion for music, politics, and art with our father, a love of Black culture, fine things, and dance from both of them. And from the breath of both of our parents, she shaped a worldview based on my sense, at least, as one humble observer, based on a simple proposition. Never accept what is for what could be. Never accept what is for what could be. Reminds me of someone sitting in this general area over here, too. That attitude, of course, created some exciting times for the rest of us in the family. For instance, somewhere in the mid-'60s, before afros really became a fashion craze, we all went on a traditional, summer vacation. Our family did. I think my parents were experimenting because they decided to leave Zaki at home. I think they were trying to, help her recognize that she had to transition into adulthood at some point in time. So they left her at home, see how she would handle herself. Well, when we got back, Zaki greeted us in the driveway of our home as we pulled up in my dad's Cadillac with a self-styled Afro haircut. And by self-styled, I don't mean she drew the picture, I mean she cut the picture. All of her, what my mom would call, all of her good hair was cut off, and believe me, what she had there was what you call nappy hair, right? But anyway, for us to see her for the first time like that, after being away for a little, with her really true, authentic Afro, and especially for my mother, it was as if she had turned the world upside down. She had defied order, custom, family tradition, with her bold, even brazen act of self-realization. Now you jump ahead to the time she shared with people here at Barnard. Just jump, they make that leap. That was a time, and some young folks, I'm so happy to see some of the Barnard community here. It's really great to see people here who understand and want to see this legacy not only preserved, but emboldened and embraced. But at that time, it was a time of social unrest, sexual revolution, and let's say just general upheaval. So you might be able to see why she had such high regard for the college and for her experiences here at Barnard and in New York City, though all the good as well as the not so good. As a place for women scholars, she had the freedom of expression and could build scholarly relationships with other women, not so easy to do at that time, maybe not even now, outside the halls of Barnard. And being in New York City provided her with the world crammed full of other things that she loved. And she obsessed with all of that at one time or another, but it was perhaps a perfect match for her. And I think that's one of the reasons, maybe the primary reason, why she wanted Barnard, of all the great institutions in the country, to house her literary archives. And we're so happy and pleased that Barnard has done so, and the great work everyone is doing with the archives. Now, I could go on further about her love of the public, and Oskar mentioned a little bit about her special relationship back in those days with Joe Papp and his wife, but my time is about up, and I just want to say here that there is true, real poetry in those two enduring institutions, Barnard College and Public Theater, coming together to form this wonderful, exciting new Ntozake Shange Social Justice Theater Residency. And on behalf of the family and the trust, we are thankful for it, and we look forward to working with all of you, and look forward to the work of the inaugural theater resident herself, Erika Dickerson-Despenza, which I'm sure will be prolific and profound. Thank you so much.
We are passing to the performances for this evening, so please indulge me while I introduce our first two performers at some bit of length, because you all will be wowed. You will be wowed. I would like to introduce and welcome Diane McIntyre and Sarette Scott. And Sarette Scott, you heard me, yes? So all right. Diane McIntyre is a celebrated choreographer of concert dance, theater, film, and opera, who has created choreography for several of Ntozake Shange's works, including Spell No. 7, Boogie Woogie Landscapes, Why I Had to Dance, It Hasn't Always Been This Way, and Lost in Language and Sound. Ms. McIntyre is featured in Shange's book, Dance We Do, A Poet Explores Black Dance. Diane McIntyre has also created work for her own Sounds in Motion companies, for Dance Theater of Harlem, and for Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater, among others. Her many Broadway credits include Paul Robeson, Mulebone, King Hedley II, and Joe Turner's Come and Gone. She's also choreographed for the big screen, most notably for Beloved and for Miss Evers' Boys, which was nominated for an Emmy nomination. Ms. McIntyre has received numerous awards, and there I am going to have to restrain myself. Trust me, there are a lot, but I will say, notably, a Guggenheim Fellowship. She's also been awarded 2 Audelcos, a Helen Hayes Award, 3 Bessies for dance and performance, and not 1, but 2 honorary Doctor of Fine Arts degrees. Welcome, Diane McIntyre. There's more. Sarette Scott. Sarette Scott is a theater director, actress, and playwright who was a member of the original Broadway cast of Ntozake Shange's For Colored Girls. Ms. Scott has directed off-Broadway, regional, and university theater, as well as a dozen productions at the Old Globe Theater. In 2020, Ms. Scott received the Gordon Davidson Directing Award for Lifetime Achievement in Regional Theater. Her play, Second Line, a personal account of her experiences in the 1969 Free Southern Theater Civil Rights Movement, has been twice produced. In 2016, Ms. Scott was invited to read from her extensive journals about the experiences of a Black woman theater artist from the 1960s to the present at several universities and in many public forums. And she was the director of the live performances surrounding Constitution Hall's celebratory installation of the Martin Luther King statue on the National Mall. Welcome to Barnard, and thank you. take a little breath. Now please join me in welcoming recent Barnard College alum, a playwright whose work is grounded in poetry and Afrofuturism and in what she names, now listen closely, the divine metaphysical dilemma of colored girlhood. I'm talking about Barnard College, class of 21, Phoenicia Farrell. And again, indulge me while I ring out her many accomplishments. Phoenicia is a member of the Obie Award-winning EST Youngblood group. Her full-length work includes Lucky for New York Stage and Film, and Black Girl Joy, which received a Women's Storyland Prize. She has been a Jane Chambers finalist, a Bay Area Playwrights Festival finalist, an O'Neill semifinalist, a City Theater National Short Playwriting finalist, and a Blank Stage Future of Playwriting semifinalist. There is more. There is more. Phoenicia's many commissions include the Miami City Theater, the Latinx Playwrights Circle, and Pergonis PRTT Greater Good Commission, and the Throne Stone Theater. And she has enjoyed residencies at the New York Stage and Film, at the Echo Theater Company of Los Angeles, at the Playwrights Center Corps Apprenticeship, and was the recipient of the inaugural 068 Magazine Throne Stone Theater Fellowship. Welcome back to Barnard, Phoenicia. Thank you.
Thank you so much, BCRW, Kim Hall, Miriam Neptune, for inviting me to celebrate Ntozake, Erika, and the Ntozake Shange Social Justice Residency. I was a senior in high school when I first encountered Shange's work for colored girls. I wanted to jump on stage and dance with the colors. It's really hard to describe how Ntozake's work makes me feel, but I think it was freedom. I contained myself and begged the actresses for a photo after. Proof. That day at 17 and every day since, I have felt held by Ntozake's love for Black women and girls. It is what makes her work singular. I met Ntozake through Kim Hall's World of Shange class. An hour with Ntozake was like a year-long masterclass. Each time I would write what scared me, and it freed me from my fear of self. I've always been scared to really be myself, and Ntozake was so brilliantly herself. And she instilled me with hope and confidence. So much so that when she asked me if I could translate for colored girls into Creole and bring it to Haiti, I promised her I would. I am so grateful that this fellowship is happening. Erika Dickerson-Despenza is a once-in-a-lifetime artist. She is purposeful with everything that she does, and her characters, yes, I fall in love with her work. You gotta go see Shadowland, okay? Erika will free many young Barnard students the way Ntozake freed me. Thank you, Erika, for inaugurating and creating this incredible memorial to Ntozake. Tonight, I'm going to perform an excerpt from my play, Black Girl Joy, which pays tribute to Ntozake as a sisterhood play. I met some of my closest connections who are here tonight, smiling at you, celebrating Ntozake. And this play uncovers how young, housing-insecure girls come to celebrate a friend who unexpectedly passes away. This play is about how too often young Black girls have to come of age in the midst of mourning and are expected to move on as if nothing has happened. That's what makes this residency so special, right? Is that we're celebrating Ntozake, and we are not letting her legacy be forgotten. Every writer needs a champion, and in true Barnard fashion, one of mine is a Barnard woman. I must thank Jean Lichty, founder of La Femme Productions. La Femme Productions honors feminist voices while expanding the vernacular of women in theater. Jean and I bonded over our love of Shange when I was her intern. Jean was one of the first artistic leaders who took me seriously when I proclaimed myself a writer. La Femme invested in a transformative workshop of Black Girl Joy, and her mentorship, which I really think is a friendship, has been essential to my development as a writer. And with that, here is an excerpt of Black Girl Joy. Squeaks enters the girl's room with a big brown box. Squeaks moves to baby girl's bed. Squeaks, orders from above. They want us to clear out her space, to lift our spirits a bit. JT. That makes no sense. If we pack up her things, she'll still be dead. Last time I checked, that's what's keeping me down. JT walks over to baby girl's desk. She opens baby girl's scrapbook. Baby was always working on her designs here. Some nights I dream and I see her working on them. I can't pack that up. JT opens the scrapbook. Flashes of memory surround them. They stand together, looking over the book. JT. She had this scrapbook full of pictures, full of us. Trina. I'm mad again. Do you ever get this way? That feeling in your chest? Squeaks. It doesn't go away. No matter how much you talk it down. You can run, you can eat, but now you hate yourself for eating all the marshmallows out of the cereal box. I thought we were vegan now. It's got gelatin. Shit, they gotta put pig in fucking cereal. Trina. What makes me angriest is knowing that I'm going to college when baby girl should have. Trina looks at the scrapbook. JT flips through the pages. Baby girl made this. And when I'm angry, I can flip through the pages and feel that feeling again. Softness in this belly. Trina flips to a page in her scrapbook that shows baby girl's fashion design sketches. Baby girl always told us to go after our dreams. We can't let her dream die. Her clothes need to be seen. We gotta put on a show. They move through the audience, passing out flyers. They all rush off stage. We see a final note baby girl left in her scrapbook when she was dreaming. Baby girl. I thought I'd start off as a model, but then I realized people have been putting things on me my whole life. This time, I can make something different. The models in my show won't have to walk extra. They can just move through the stage. It's better that way. I want models to look like Black girls look every day. Braids, brown, tummies. I want them to feel cute and sexy, but not feel forced, like by themselves. Black Girl Joy. That's what I'll name my first collection. The lights fall. Fashion show turned poetry slam. First is Trina. They will all take their time navigating the space. Enjoy it, really. All eyes on them. Each of the three supremes. Trina. I'm not gonna cover up because you're scared of my body. That's not my problem. People call me a bitch, but I'm the bitch they wanna be, period. Yeah, my name is Trina, but I'm not trying to be a girl that you shove down my throat in the videos. I've got the confidence of a savage, the intellect of a scientist, and the wherewithal of an activist. I'm here. present, thriving in acceptance about the fact that I create my rate. Call me dark, call me thick, call me stupid. I'm Trina. Nice to meet you. JT. I'm not gonna stop nagging because I ain't lying. I'm cute till I'm nasty till I'm heard. Head up, walking tall, this shame is not my lot to carry. Bigger than my mistakes, I'm here, present, thriving in acceptance about the fact that I create my rate. Call me stuck up, call me thin, call me fast. I'm JT, nice to meet ya. Squeaks. I'm not going to live within the lines you've drawn for me. My heart is too big to be contained by gender. I'm here, present, thriving in acceptance about the fact that I create my rate. Flexibility is a luxury that so few require. I'm Squeaks. Nice to meet you. Trina. Every breath we take is hope, proof that we're not done yet. They dance. They start modeling, and they slow down. Looking at each other, they see each other. Like really fucking see each other. They hold each other and break the catwalk. Embrace. Line by line. Supremes. I know for me, it's that I got people who understand me. In a world like this, that can't come easy. Having you all, that's part of what kept me here. Dark and disposable, that's how we're treated. It's a collective grief. It's the laying of hands. It's the breaking of hearts. Even before our hearts stop beating, a life has been lost. The life of a girl who needs a home, a neighborhood to play, and a bed to rest. That's hers. The life of a girl who can count on someone. The life of a girl who can scream and know someone will hear her. The life of a Black girl. We dream of possibilities. There are places we can go. Baby girl, we hope that you find it. Black girl joy. Because we know we found it with you. End of play. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Oh my God. Thank you. Thank you so much. Seriously. Oh my God. Thank you. Seriously. Thank you. I'm gonna run, but thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Seriously. Thank you. Thank you. I just want to thank Kim Hall, Miriam Neptune, Erika, the BCRW staff, Amritha, and Ntozake Shange. Thank you so much.
Erika Dickerson-Despenza. A name to be savored and a being to be cherished. Erika Dickerson-Despenza is an adamantly self-proclaimed and widely and deeply recognized and celebrated New Orleans-based Black, radical, leftist poet, playwright, artistic, visionary, and generous angel being who has dedicated herself and her craft to telling the stories we need to hear, we need to listen to now, today, tomorrow. Her many productions include Shadowland and Colored Water, both for the Public Theater, and Hieroglyph at the San Francisco Playhouse Lorraine Hansberry Theater. Her current project is a 10-play Katrina cycle, which continues her attentiveness to climate crisis-induced and state-sanctioned water vulnerabilities and displacement rippling in and beyond New Orleans and the Midwest. Let me tell you about her awards. Ms. Dickerson-Despenza has received numerous accolades for her work, including the Susan Smith Blackburn Prize for 2021, the 2020 Lawrence Hatcher Foundation Award, the 2020 Tom Thomas Award, the Lilly Award, also 2020, the Barry and Bernice Davis Award, 2020, you guessed it, the Grist 50 Fixer, 2020, and the Princess Grace Playwriting Award of 2019. And she has received multiple residencies and fellowships, including the one that brings her here tonight and for the next years. We are honored at the opportunity to be in your presence, to learn from you, to experience your generosity firsthand. We so look forward to being in your light. Thank you, and welcome to Barnard.
When you've been in the presence of legends, you take your shoes off. When you've been in the presence of legends in the making, you take your shoes off. And when you talk about someone who comes with her own things and walks like a lion, you take your shoes off. You have to be flat-footed to talk about that. They told me I was giving a keynote address, and that scared me. But here we are, and let's see how this goes. A consort of the spirits, the making of a self. There wasn't enough for Indigo in the world she'd been born to, so she made up what she needed, what she thought Black people needed. There wasn't enough for Ntozake Shange in the world she'd been born to, so she made up what she needed, what she thought Black people needed. There wasn't enough for me in the world I'd been born to, so I made up what I needed, what I thought Black people needed. There isn't enough for queer Black women, femmes, and non-binary people in the world we've been born to. So we make up what we need, what we think Black people who bear the brunt of multiple simultaneous structural violences need. Access to the moon, the power to heal, daily visits with the spirits. And isn't this refrain always true of us for whom Zaki's words are a honeyed incantation? We who fashion a self between starshine and clay with no model for our becoming, our one hand holding tight our other hand, as Mama Lucille wrote less than 2 decades earlier. It is the same kind of making of a self in Harriet's fugitivity, uttering "my people are free" while enslaved. Zazu Nova and Marsha P. Johnson threw the first brick of the Stonewall Rebellion, reaching for the moon, claiming their right to space. To space. And maybe that's why Mama Zaki loved Sun Ra and his Astro-Black mythology. Zaki saw Black people move the ground and set stars beneath their feet. We have always been from the future. There has always been a consort of the spirits like the ones I just called, insisting on our communal making the impossible possible. It is a wayward urge to, as Saidiya Hartman tells us, practice an ongoing exploration of what might be. It is an improvisation with the terms of social existence where the terms have already been dictated, when there is little room to breathe, when you have been sentenced to a life of servitude, when the house of bondage looms in whatever direction you move. It is the untiring practice of trying to live when you were never meant to survive. So, it is appropriate that a late 20-something-year-old Zaki, fresh from her Broadway debut, adorned in plastic barrettes and neon jelly sandals, began her commencement address at the Duke Ellington School of the Arts with the words, "Let me tell you about life." After all, her work and the work of her work, a la Toni Cade Bambara, was about life, is about life. Shaping a life beyond the confines of our socialization, beyond oppressive authorities and respectable parameters. The Ntozake Shange Social Justice Residency is about life. It is about opening the sky of Black women, femmes, and non-binary people's imagination so that we may touch the rim of the moon, if not pull it down and make heaven on earth right now. This residency, unprecedented in both its design and intention, exists so that women, femmes, and non-binary people of the African diaspora can have space to access the moons of our imaginations, the human and material resources to access our power to heal. The Ntozake Shange Social Justice Residency is a result of my daily visits with the spirits. It is, at its core, an invitation to sit a while, read a while, a long while, write a while with the spirits and in the spirit of the Black radical tradition. It is Thursday, November 16th, 2017. Fall is fragile and gives in to winter's coaxing, and the sky is spitting that sloped, frosty rain that never runs in the direction of my umbrella. I am 10 minutes late to Ntozake's book release for Wild Beauty at the Nuyorican Poets Cafe. I am ashamed of my tardiness. I am tired of my raggedy job in Brooklyn. I am a poet, as I've always been, who sees the viability of theater as a vehicle for revolution, but I am not yet a playwright with a capital P, meaning I have no social capital in the city of New York. I have no fellowships, residencies, readings, or theater community. My name has not been uttered at any major institution. American Theater Magazine and the New York Times don't know my name, and that was a nice time. Just that part, yeah. I do not know that I am 2 months shy of being awarded the Lark Van Leer Fellowship. Oh no, I need the lights back. Thank you. You know, I gotta see. I do not know that I will quit my toxic job and live off my $30,000 fellowship and a part-time job as the internship coordinator for Columbia University's Art Administration graduate program. I make $15 an hour. I do not know that I will become an artist at the Public Theater at the age of 27, the same age as Ntozaké when she began working with the public. I do not know that Oskar Eustis would become my Joe Papp. I do not know that Olivier Sultan, who was Ntozaké's agent, will become my agent. I do not know that Elizabeth Van Dyke of New Federal Theater, where Ntozaké's For Colored Girls Who Have Considered Suicide When the Rainbow Is Enough first premiered, will become my theater mom. And I do not know that Samuel French, who published so much of Ntozaké's work, will publish mine. I do not yet know, or rather accept, that I am a consort of the spirits. All I know in this moment is that I am 1 year into my new autoimmune disease and ocular disability. All I know is that I must write to make my new self make some kind of sense that I can live with. All I know is that the rain is taunting my vision loss, and I am late to see Ntozaké and ashamed. I enter the familiar crowded space and push my way to the front of the left side of the stage. The band is playing. My eyes scan the room for Ntozaké, but I do not see her. And then I feel someone behind me, their hands around my waist, fingernails painted a perfect cobalt blue. "You having a good time, baby? Love the hair wrap." And there she is, my literary mama, dressed in a floor-length gold lame gown with a bold red lip and two-tone cornrows and 1B in that number 27 blonde. The black women know what I am talking about. We hug, and she shuffles by and ascends to the stage. I see the effects of the 2 strokes and the degenerative nerve disease, and I feel my tears pressing their way forward, but she is also sexy and tells us so. She declares this is a night of dancing and celebration, of celebrating life, and it is. The books have photocopies of her signature pasted into the book jacket. It is a reminder that even a single word is a miracle, as Ntozaké fights to regain her ability to use her fingers to write. The women in my maternal lineage all have the gift of sight. My clairvoyance manifests in part by knowing when elders are going to depart from this plane. Having been so close to elder Black women from childhood onward, such seeing is a gift and a burden. When I became disabled and began grappling with permanent vision loss in my right eye, I scoffed at the gift of sight. What good is it to see death come upon somebody? After the show, I greet Ntozaké amid her clusters of fans, one of which was Jack, and we had not yet met. I greet Ntozaké amid her clusters of fans clamoring for photographs, and I saw it. A full year wouldn't go by without her passing. I wanted a photo with her that night, but what pressed urgently on my spirit was to tell her how her legacy would live on through me, that I would help make sure we never forgot her, what she taught us. I knelt before her, holding her hands in mine, and made these promises. The gift of seeing is vision, to see past the right now and peer into the what will be and can be. The gift of disability and chronic illness, if there is one, is to consciously and unconsciously have legacy on one's mind. It's the living that we can measure in integrity and how different the world is or isn't because we were here, that haunts us, not death. Toni Morrison told us, frankly, we die, that may be the meaning of life, but we do language, that may be the measure of our lives. So women, femmes, and non-binary people of the African diaspora, keep doing language. Fix the tools to your needs, take it apart to the bone, so that the malignancies fall away, leaving us space to literally create our own image. Remember, not all speech is words. We are a people who speak with our bodies. Extend that already extended leg further, stretch. Move toward that sculpted impulse and labyrinth destiny of Miss Diane McIntyre. We do language, but dance we do also, especially in furious times. And we sing too. We must write in all the technologies we have and need. There's a reason the church mothers would say, ain't no harm, no moan. And that song that says, if I can't say a word, I just wave my hand. And read poems, Black poems, Black women's poems. Know that poetry can bring bleeding women and children at a time. This work is born of the Spirit. It is best to go in knowing that working in the other realm is dirty work, makes us smell bad, is serious like that, peaceful like that. I sweat when I write. Do you? It is a communal endeavor, liberation, that is. It is a communal endeavor, Black women, femmes, and non-binary people's survival and potential to thrive, that is. So we all must do more than write in the quiet of our lonely. Zaki was an active member of the Bay Area Poets Coalition, Third World Women's Collective, the Sisterhood, and attended SNCC meetings between classes at Barnard and poetry readings at night, and participated in the Columbia Rebellion. She visited, taught, and mentored the students of Barnard, juvenile detention centers, and beyond. Her life and way of working shows us that individual accolades mean nothing for the state of our community. She wrote and worked for young girls of color, for girls who don't even exist yet, so that there is something for them when they arrive. And she went on to say, here, look what you can live. Look what you can think. She says, I concentrate on giving this to young people because they are the treasures of Black culture. She made something so that when we came out from under our starched pinafores and pressed heads, we'd have some notion of dream and sanctity of spirit. I am not my ancestors' their wildest dreams. I'm not. But my God, I hope to grow into them. Their tenacity, creativity, and relentless imagination. I hope to cast my imagination into the deep waters beyond the nets, traps set before me. I want that for all of us, Black people, people of the global majority. White people, y'all ancestors are questionable, so I couldn't write you in there. I don't know if I want you to be their wildest dreams. I don't know. You know, words have power. They set up atmospheres. I don't want to, So, Comrade Mary Hooks told us that the mandate for Black people in this time is to avenge the suffering of our ancestors, to earn the respect of future generations, and to be willing to be transformed in the service of the work. I created this residency to avenge Ntozake's suffering. In the margins of her journals, in the archives that we should all be in here at Barnard, in the margins of her journals, you'll find her adding up bills. You'll find entries of her battling with her bipolar disorder in a world unkind to Black women with mental health disorders. I created this residency because Zora Neale Hurston died penniless, and while alive had to bend to the will of a benevolently racist white woman to have funds to do her work. I created this residency because my great-great-great-grandmother Viola Greenspan, a Black indigenous woman of what is now Mississippi, made quilts out of scraps of materials. Because my grandmother Linda was a singer who died with a song in her throat. Because my great-great-great-grandmother Rosalie Ybarra Barois came to New Orleans from the Dominican Republic and painted nails instead of portraits. Because it was the work of Black women who kept the Broadway revival of For Color Girls from closing before the end of its limited run. Because I will not die having left another generation of Black women, femmes, and non-binary people believing that we must buy into the myth of scarcity. Because Broadway did not dim the lights when Ntozake passed. Because her name isn't said nearly enough. Because I am angry that Ntozake is not here and miss her every damn day. Because she transformed me at the age of 15 and changes me now even beyond the veil. Because I believed if I built it, you would come. And you did. And you will. I am simply moving the needle forward. I am one in the number. And I have much work to do before I leave this world. I'm planning on leaving it around like 113. I think that's a good time to go. I think that's a good time. I think I'll be ready, you know. The Ntozake Shange Social Justice Residency is here. And now, as Ntozake said, I am on the other side of the rainbow, picking up the pieces of days spent waiting for the poem, waiting for the residency, waiting for the archives to be heard. While you listen, I have other work to do. Thank you.